We're sorry to interrupt your regularly scheduled programming, but we have some breaking news in regards to former WWE Chairman and CEO Vincent Kennedy McMahon. After a thorough investigation, he has been arrested this morning for multiple counts of coercion throughout the last 2 decades. The WWE Board of Directors announced his departure from the company effective immediately, and Stephanie McMahon will officially take over as the chairwoman and CEO. How does this impact WWE? Only time will tell. Alright, kiddo, what story do you want to hear about tonight? I can finish the story about Cinderella if you want.
I want to hear a story about WWE.
Huh? How do you know anything about the WWE? That thing died 20 years ago, and I haven't heard about it since.
I actually know a lot about WWE. I saw a video on it today. I know Mr. McMahon and...
It looks like you know it all, to be honest, so I guess there's nothing else for me to tell you then.
No. Tell me what you know.
Okay. I'll tell you the story of how everything changed after Vince McMahon was arrested. But we gotta go all the way back to the year of 2022, long before you were even born.
Oh my gosh.
Vince McMahon's arrest immediately put a smile on the face of an abundance of wrestling fans. Being a billionaire has its perks though. One of them is being equipped with some of the best lawyers in the world. So, Vince didn't really see any prison time, but it was nice to see him being punished for his despicable behavior by losing his job and paying a hefty amount to his victims. The board of directors forced McMahon to retire because they had inside news on what was going to happen next, which was the arrest, and he liquidated all his shares. Not only was there justice for his actions, but there was hope for a better WWE. When the news broke out, fans jumped in joy, tweeted their excitement, and thanked God for answering their prayers. With him out of the picture, they were ready for a new era. An era that would revive their love for the WWE that was lost a long time ago. That's when we get to the next part of this story. We entered the Triple H era. Stephanie McMahon permanently took over as the CEO and chairwoman. As for her first order of business, it wasn't a surprise. Hunter Hearst Helmsley was named the new head of creative. The headline hardcore WWE fans were waiting to read. The same fans that absolutely adored Triple H's NXT in the 2010s. This time around, he was gifted the opportunity to present it on the main roster with a bigger budget and more eyes. To kick things off, Hunter came out and vowed that there would be some serious changes, and he would make this place fun again. With the complete support from his wife and WWE President Nick Khan, Triple H implemented his vision. We witnessed some wild things occur fairly quickly with Hunter in charge. Finn Balor dethroned Roman Reigns to become the champion, Tommaso Ciampa won the Royal Rumble, and Johnny Gargano returned to the company. All of this happened in just the first 6 months. Triple H was determined to bring back the wrestling in World Wrestling Entertainment. The product shifted from being extremely story-driven to focus solely on in-ring competition. WWE fans didn't really know how to process this new era. It wasn't a good idea to change so much so quickly. While die-hard fans were in love with the product again, the casuals were changing the channel. The stress was catching up to Triple H. Dealing with confused producers and angry executives just made this transition that much more difficult. 20 years of endless nights to reach this dream had Hunter questioning his every decision he's made thus far. The grass wasn't greener on the other side. The conditions progressively worsened. Triple H looked pale, thin, and hollow. If he didn't revert back to the old ways, he was going to end up 6 feet under. Just when things were looking the darkest, there was a glimmer of light. Nick Khan inspired him to trust the process, and it was such a powerful speech that it convinced Triple H to push through the dark times.
Nick Khan sounds like a really cool guy.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. But anyways, let's look at what happened next with Mr. McMahon. For his entire life, wrestling was the only thing Vince McMahon has ever known. Travel, work, sleep, and repeat. That was the routine that he adored. So when he golfed, went on vacations, and had an extra hour of sleep, he didn't feel fulfilled. He wanted to get back in the game and contribute to professional wrestling once again. McMahon's first attempt to come back was joining AEW, but that didn't work out at all. Tony Khan never returned his calls or answered any of his emails. When that didn't work, he had lunch with his daughter. The topic about a return popped up, but Stephanie shut it down and gently informed her father that he knew that could never happen. Vince McMahon then finished the rest of his lunch in utter silence, got up, and walked away without saying another word. He realized that he made irredeemable mistakes and was blacklisted because of it. Meanwhile, a storm was brewing in WWE. The promotion was collapsing with each passing week. Ratings dropped by 37%. Friction between Triple H and the TV network executives reached an all-time high. WWE officials wanted the return of the Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar feud, not the fresh matchups with Finn Balor and Gunther. The board of directors had to act quickly before Triple H ran the company to the ground, and so Stephanie McMahon was handed the difficult task of firing her own husband. Her back was against the wall. They wouldn't agree with any other solution she offered. This was their final decision. You can imagine that Hunter wasn't too delighted to hear about the news. In an attempt to save his career, he looked to Nick Khan for support and basically a lifeline using his catchphrase from that motivational speech, "Trust the process." This time around though, Khan could not agree. The numbers were far too ugly, and Triple H was the perfect scapegoat. The situation got messy expeditiously. Hunter's heart shattered into a million pieces. His dream turned into a nightmare. It felt as if he was stabbed in the back and betrayed by the woman he trusted the most with complete vulnerability. The divorce came shortly after the dilemma. In the span of a year, Triple H reached the top of the mountain getting his dream job only for it to be ripped away while losing the love of his life in the process. And that is how Triple H and Vince McMahon reached a bottomless pit of despair. Picture an empty void of nothing, pure loneliness and a sense of total hopelessness. Your world crumbled over you, gasping for any breath of air, extending your hand for the feeling of someone's touch, looking around to see anything other than nothing. From having everything they ever wanted to begging for 1 second of peace and happiness. This is where they were. Vince McMahon and Triple H fell into the vicious reality known as rock bottom. It was the worst experience of their lives.
I feel bad for them. Why did this happen?
That's a good question, Skylar, and the answer is, it's because they trusted the wrong guy. Nick Khan wasn't the good guy you thought he was this entire time. Because Nick Khan meticulously planned out every single step of this master plan to take down the McMahon family, to make himself number one. The first part of the process was to join WWE and generate record-breaking profits to the point where the board of directors see you as a highly valuable person for the success of the company's future. After that, you get real close with Vince McMahon. You become one of the boys, but you're only becoming a boy to get information because you're going to use that information and you're going to leak it out to the board of directors and then the Wall Street Journal, and that gets Vince McMahon fired and even arrested. The arrest part was never a part of your plan, but it's great because it means that you get bonus points and you love the fact that he's never going to be in the picture again. And then you patiently wait for his daughter and son-in-law ready to start their new lives and come in to make this place great again. What you do is pretend to be on his team and you convince him to change everything about the company, telling him to trust the process, a process that you never believed in to begin with. This entire time, you're setting him up for failure. Once he fails, he gets fired by his own wife. That destroys their 20-year marriage. She's so devastated that she quits the company. Once you manipulated everybody in sight and got rid of them, you take over. You become the number one guy. This is your kingdom. You are the king and you are the ruler of the wrestling world.
He's a bad guy? Why did he do it?
Because of greed, selfishness, and pure evil. But that's where Nick Khan fucked up. His plan was almost perfect, but there was this one tiny flaw, one tiny mistake that he overlooked. You see, he might have won the battle, but he went to war with the strongest warriors. If you've been following the careers of Vince McMahon and Hunter over the years, you should know that these two don't just sit around and cry. They are the opposite of quitting. They picked themselves up, crawled out of that pit of darkness to fight, and they fought. They fought harder than ever before. Since he was blacklisted from the wrestling world, Vince decided to buy a promotion. The NWA was for sale after Billy Corgan's failed relaunch. The history surrounding that brand was worth every penny. Iconic legends in the business like Ric Flair, Andre the Giant, and Harley Race helped create a legacy that Vince McMahon planned on continuing. Within the first week, he signed two of the biggest names in the game, Sasha Banks and Brock Lesnar. Soon after, Bray Wyatt and Braun Strowman received offers they could not refuse, and MJF took his talents to the National Wrestling Association. With a roster like that and a genius with all the experience in the world running the show, NWA grew, and it grew faster than any wrestling promotion before it. The company had made a complete transformation from the grave to the sky. As for the game, Triple H kept on playing, and he found a new home. A home where all of his children were living at. All Elite Wrestling. Tony Khan was skeptical about the idea at first, but his close circle convinced him otherwise. It turned out to be a match made in heaven. With Hunter, Tony, and Regal, AEW grew to new heights. The three trusted the process, and everything fell into place. While NWA and AEW were flourishing, WWE was experiencing a slow and painful death. Nick Khan failed to realize the importance of the heart and soul of WWE, Vince McMahon and Triple H, something money can't replicate. To put it simply, the two were priceless. And that is the incredible story of what happened to WWE after Vince McMahon's arrest. It's a story about one man who made awful mistakes that led to the downfall of his life. But rather than quitting, he owned up to it. He learned and he grew as a person, redeeming himself. A story about another man who was betrayed and lost everything. Although he was absolutely crushed and devastated, giving up just wasn't an option. It wasn't. He got up and he fought for what he believed in. There are going to be people who don't believe in you, and when they don't, especially then, that is when you believe in yourself. One of my favorite wrestlers growing up used to say, "Never give up," and I like to think that this story perfectly exemplifies those three words.